Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Uh, it is Saturday, uh, June 25th, and we're on the other side of Friday, June 24th, where we found out the Supreme Court of the United States has overturned Roe v. Wade. This is inevitably and rightfully so going to make a lot of people angry. It hurts my heart to see people take that anger and spin their wheels with some screaming into the void on social media. I see a lot of people do this when it comes to gun shootings, when it comes to, uh, any of this stuff where it's really emotional for folks. And here's what I suggest. I'm not saying don't be angry. I'm not saying don't make your voice heard. What I am hoping that people will do is, one, you have state representatives that you pay with your tax dollars to represent you in state and federal government. Do you know who they are? Have you emailed them? I am a Vermonter. Vermont is about to codify the right to abortion in its state constitution. Looks like it's going to happen. Even if I wasn't in Vermont, I would want to know who my state representative was, where I can make that voice heard, so the person that I'm paying to represent me in state and federal government knows exactly what my feelings are. Even in the state of Vermont, I should be emailing my state representative to say, these are my feelings. Please represent these feelings. And when it comes to this, know that your constituents want you to vote in this direction, or at least these parts, this section of your constituents. I'm seeing a lot of yelling and screaming into the void with social media posts and anger. And I'm not saying that that shouldn't happen. What I am saying is that if we are going to post and yell on social media, find out who your state representative is. Find out what they feel, what they believe, how they're representing your interests in state and federal government. Make your voice known. And then when you share on social media, share that person's information with your fellow constituents. Give them something to do with that anger versus just spinning and yelling, spinning the wheels and yelling into the void. Because if I was, let's say that I was pro-life and not pro-choice, right? Let's say that I was pro-life. I would want everybody that was on the other side of the fence, on the other side of the team, to be wasting their time and taking all of their energy and yelling into the void. It hurts my heart to know that people are out there hurting, having these options, these avenues of recourse, who would then be able to name Johnny Depp's lawyer versus their own state representative. You, do you know more about Johnny Depp's trial than you do your own state representative, or who's representing you, who your senators are, who your governor is, who your state representatives are? This is huge, right? And this is one of those reasons why we end up here. We get convinced that our efforts are not going to work. We get distracted by Hollywood, by culture, by all sorts of things that take our attention. And then we have a tool like social media where our only recourse is to yell and scream and yell and scream and yell and scream without anything constructive coming from it. There is a saying around social media that's really important to me. You're either preaching to the choir or preaching to the deaf. These pithy memes, these graphics that everybody seems to be sharing, are they falling on deaf ears or are they falling on the ears of your choir? Do you know who your state representative is? Have you emailed them? Can you pass that information around? Can you find out their stance? And can you find out if, when they are representing you in government, whether it is local, state, or federal, have you made your voice known? Locally in the town of Littleton, we're seeing selectmen thinking that it's okay to pray before their meetings. There's nothing wrong with prayer. There's nothing wrong with gathering and praying. The intersection of faith and church, the intersection of the medical field and church. These things should not happen, because when they do, we have big problems, and we have lots and lots of history to look back at and say these are the things that are happening. Right now, we have a certain amount of recourse. We have a certain way that we can make our voice heard. Protest, march on Washington, absolutely. But start with something. Start with something that you can put your hands on and do. Here's the other thing. So many of us feel like we're not doing enough. So many of us feel like we're not enough, right? So when you have this cycle of frustration, and then the things you do end up not accomplishing a lot, not because of your efforts, but because the avenue where your voice is being heard, not doing a whole lot. What can you do? What can you put your hands on practically? Do you know your state representative? I mean, it's just over and over and over. And then when you take that anger and you take that fury that you should be seeing, like feeling, and you point it in the right direction with the thing that you could actually do, then once you email your state representative, your governor, your senators, all of the people that you have access to, that you are paying to represent you, when you do that, you're going to feel a little bit better, like you've accomplished something. And then take that information and share it with the world. If you have people who feel a certain way that you do, and they are in your county, they are in your state, organize and get that information out there so your voice is heard in a way that is not screaming into the void. I'll get off my soapbox now. I just hope that these messages can give people a little bit of something to hold on to, something to do that will help with their mental, their emotional, their physical, their spiritual health and well-being, and then add to the solution instead of standing around clutching our pearls and screaming about the problem. Who is your state representative? Who represents you? Who are you paying to represent you? And what do they believe? Find out that information. Send an email, send a letter. Imagine if 100 to 200 to 300 people on your social media feed that were all sharing these same sorts of posts emailed their state representative. Imagine what would happen. Get your voice heard. Get it out there. Fight.